Here's something they don't tell you at the dealership. That brand new truck sitting in your driveway, the one with the heated seats and the backup camera and the digital dashboard that looks like a spaceship? It's not a survival tool. It's a ticking time bomb wrapped in sheet metal and financing payments. Let me be specific. Right now, today, your truck has 47 different computer modules talking to each other. The engine control unit, the transmission control module, the anti-lock brake system, the traction control, the stability management, the tire pressure monitoring. Every single one of them is a point of failure. Every single one of them needs electricity, clean signals, and a functioning electrical grid to work properly. Now imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and the power's out. Not just your house, everything. The whole grid. Maybe it's a solar flare, maybe it's a high-altitude EMP from a conflict nobody saw coming. Maybe it's just cascading infrastructure failure because we've been running everything on duct tape and hope for 30 years. Doesn't matter. The cause is irrelevant. What matters is this. Every single one of those 47 computer modules just became a paperweight. You turn the key, nothing, not even a click. Because modern vehicles don't fail gracefully. They don't limp along, they just stop. Completely. Instantly. Your $80,000 investment is now blocking your driveway and you can't even push it out of the way because the electronic transmission lock won't release without power. But here's the really fun part. Even if the EMP doesn't get you, complexity will. You know what happens when one sensor fails in a modern vehicle? The whole system goes into limp mode. You get 15 horsepower and a dashboard full of angry lights. I'm not making this up. Your truck will literally cripple itself because the exhaust gas recirculation sensor thinks the air is too spicy. And good luck fixing it yourself. You need a $4,000 diagnostic computer just to figure out which of the 17 possible problems is the real problem. This is what I call the complexity kill shot. It's not dramatic, there's no explosion. Your truck just becomes an extremely expensive lawn ornament while you're stuck explaining to your family why the vehicle you specifically bought for emergencies doesn't work during an actual emergency. So let's establish something right now. We're not doing this wrong anymore. We're not buying vehicles based on marketing and feelings and what looked cool in a Mad Max movie. We're applying actual science. We're using a filter, a test, a litmus test for survival that separates working tools from expensive mistakes.
The 4 laws. How to know if your vehicle survives or dies. Listen carefully because this is where most people get it wrong. There are 4 non-negotiable tests, 4 filters that determine whether a vehicle is a survival asset or a liability. Pass all 4, you live. Fail even one, you're walking. And walking in a collapse scenario means you're probably not making it. Law 1, the electromagnetic survival test. Can your vehicle survive when the sky decides to kill all electronics? I'm talking about solar flares, coronal mass ejections, high-altitude electromagnetic pulses. These aren't science fiction scenarios. They're documented phenomena that happen and will happen again. The Carrington event of 1859 was so powerful it set telegraph lines on fire. If that happened today, it would destroy every unshielded electronic device in the affected hemisphere. Every single one. Your modern truck fails this test immediately. Those 47 computer modules I mentioned, they're all vulnerable. The chips inside them are microscopic. The circuits are tiny. When an EMP hits, it induces voltage spikes that physically destroy semiconductor junctions. The chip doesn't just crash, it dies permanently. And you can't fix it because replacement parts require a functional global supply chain that no longer exists. The only vehicles that pass this test are analog, mechanically controlled, old enough that the computer, if there is one, is simple enough to shield or replace. We're talking carburetors instead of fuel injection, mechanical fuel pumps instead of electric, distributor-based ignition instead of coil-on plug. The simpler the system, the higher the survival rate. Law 2, the common tool repair standard. Here's a thought experiment. You're 100 miles from home. Your alternator dies. You have a basic tool set, a socket wrench, some screwdrivers, maybe a hammer if you're fancy. Can you replace the alternator yourself? Can you even access it without removing 17 other components first? If the answer is no, your vehicle fails. Because in a collapse, there are no mechanics. There are no parts stores with next day delivery. There's you, your tools, and whatever knowledge you have or can learn from a manual. The vehicle that requires specialty tools or computer diagnostics is the vehicle that becomes immobile the first time something breaks. The best survival vehicles are stupid simple. They're designed so that an average person with average mechanical knowledge can fix them with common tools. There's no proprietary software, no security systems that prevent you from replacing parts, no authorized dealer-only components. Just bolts and belts and things that move when you make them move. Law 3, the Fuel Flexibility Protocol. This is the test everyone forgets. Everyone plans for the first month. Nobody plans for year 3. You know what happens to gasoline that sits in an underground tank for a year? It goes bad. The volatile compounds evaporate. The remaining liquid turns into varnish. Your modern fuel-injected engine chokes on it and dies. But diesel is more forgiving. Diesel engines, especially older mechanical ones, don't care about fuel quality as much. They run on compression ignition. You compress air until it gets hot enough to ignite whatever oily substance you inject into the cylinder. Old diesel, contaminated diesel, kerosene, home heating oil, used vegetable oil if you filter it right. The engine doesn't have preferences, it has thermodynamics. This is pure physics. A diesel engine compresses air at a ratio of about 20:1. That compression heats the air to over 500 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, almost any flammable oil will ignite on contact. There are no spark plugs to foul, no delicate sensors measuring air-fuel ratios, just heat and pressure and combustion. It's brutal, it's simple, it works. The vehicle that can only run on fresh premium gasoline is the vehicle that becomes useless when gas stations close. And gas stations will close, either because there's no power to pump, or because the supply chain collapsed, or because the people who owned them decided their family survival was more important than your convenience. Law 4, the invisibility doctrine. Here's a question nobody wants to answer honestly. When society collapses and people get desperate, what happens to the guy driving the obvious survival vehicle? You know the one. Lifted suspension, off-road lights, roof rack full of gear, tactical bumpers, Punisher skulls, Milan Labe stickers. It's screaming, "I prepared for this and I have resources." That guy gets targeted. That guy becomes a priority threat to everyone who didn't prepare. He's mobile food storage. He's a rolling supply depot. Every desperate person sees that vehicle and thinks the same thing. If I take that, my family eats for another month. The best survival vehicle is boring, invisible, common. It looks like every other vehicle on the road. Nobody gives it a second glance. It doesn't advertise capability or resources. It just exists, unnoticed, while the flashy trucks get stopped at every checkpoint and roadblock. This is basic game theory. In a zero-sum survival scenario, being noticed is being targeted. The vehicle that helps you survive is the one that looks like it belongs to someone who's barely scraping by, someone not worth the trouble of robbing. These 4 laws aren't opinions, they're survival mechanics. They're the filter that separates the vehicles that work from the vehicles that kill you through complexity, visibility, or fuel dependency. Now, let's apply this filter and find the only 3 vehicles that pass every single test. Vehicle 1, the junkyard phoenix that refuses to die, the Jeep Cherokee XJ, made between 1984 and 1996. Not the new one, not the Grand Cherokee, the boxy, simple, mechanical workhorse that Chrysler built before they decided to ruin everything with plastic and cost cutting. This thing passes the EMP test, with one very important caveat. The pre-1997 models use an ECU that's simple enough to shield. You can wrap it in aluminum foil and stick it in a metal box, and it'll survive. But more importantly, these ECUs are everywhere. They made millions of XJs. Every junkyard has 5. If yours dies, you swap it in 30 minutes and keep driving. That's the key. Replaceability equals survivability. The engine is the real star here, the 4.0-liter inline-6. This engine is legendary for one reason. It's too simple to kill. It's a cast iron block with a cylinder head and 6 pistons going up and down. That's it. No variable valve timing, no cylinder deactivation, no turbochargers or superchargers or any other complexity that breaks. Just metal turning fuel into motion through pure mechanical violence. People have run these engines without oil, without coolant, with holes in the block, and they still run. There's a famous story about an XJ that rolled off a cliff, landed upside down, and the engine was still running when they found it.
I'm not saying you should abuse your engine. I'm saying this engine was designed by people who understood that reliability means tolerating abuse. The repair standard? This is where the XJ becomes beautiful. Every single part is available. I'm not exaggerating. Water pump, alternator, starter, transmission, transfer case, axles. It's all in junkyards everywhere, and it's all interchangeable across model years. The 4.0 engine in a 1990 XJ is mechanically identical to the one in a 1996. Same bolt patterns, same mounts, same everything. This is the AK-47 principle applied to vehicles. Standardization plus mass production equals unlimited parts availability. And it's actually capable. This isn't a crossover pretending to be tough. It's a real four-wheel drive system with a 2-speed transfer case and solid axles. It'll climb rocks, it'll push through mud, it'll handle snow and ice and terrain that would stop a modern SUV dead. All in a package small enough to maneuver through urban environments and light enough not to sink into soft ground. But let's talk honestly about the problems, because there are always problems. The fuel economy is bad. 15 to 18 miles per gallon on a good day, 12 if you're actually using the four-wheel drive. In a world where every gallon of gas is precious, this matters a lot. You're making a trade. You're trading fuel efficiency for mechanical simplicity and off-road capability. That's a valid trade, but you need to understand what you're giving up. The other problem is space. The XJ is small. It seats 5 people uncomfortably. The cargo area fits maybe 4 duffel bags and a case of water. You're not hauling your entire life in this thing. You're not setting up a mobile base. This is a scout vehicle, a quick reaction vehicle. You, your essential gear, maybe 1 or 2 other people, and enough supplies to get from point A to point B. That's the mission profile. If you need more, you need a different vehicle.
Vehicle 2, the gray ghost that hides in plain sight. Now we're going to talk about something nobody wants to hear. The best survival vehicle looks like it's owned by a plumber who gave up on life in 1997. I'm talking about a full-size cargo van. Specifically the 1990s Ford E-Series or Chevrolet Express. White, windowless, absolutely devoid of personality or character. The kind of van that makes people's eyes glaze over as they look directly at it. This is the vehicle that wins the invisibility doctrine by default. Every city has thousands of these. Contractors drive them, electricians, HVAC technicians, delivery services. They're so common, they're invisible. Your brain categorizes them as background noise and moves on. That's exactly what you want. Let me paint you a scenario. Society's breaking down. There are checkpoints, roadblocks, armed groups stopping vehicles and searching for supplies. You roll up in a lifted truck with off-road tires and a roof rack full of gear. What happens? You get searched, probably robbed, maybe worse. Now you roll up in a beat-up cargo van that looks like it belongs to a guy who cleans carpets. What happens? They wave you through. You're clearly not a threat. You're clearly not carrying anything valuable. You're just trying to get home like everyone else. But inside that van is a mobile fortress. You can outfit it however you want and nobody knows. Sleeping platform, water storage, food storage, medical supplies, solar panels on the roof charging deep cycle batteries. From the outside, it's just another work van. From the inside, it's a self-contained survival module that lets you stay mobile and hidden at the same time. The security factor is underrated. It's a windowless metal box. You can lock yourself inside and nobody can see what you're doing. Try doing that in a vehicle with windows. Can't do it. Everyone can see you. Everyone knows you're vulnerable. Mechanically, these vans pass the common tool test easily. They're built on heavy-duty truck frames. Ford uses the same 5.4-liter V8 that goes in their trucks. Chevy uses the 5.7-liter. These are fleet vehicles. They're designed to be maintained by fleet mechanics who aren't necessarily experts. They're designed for basic tools and straightforward repairs. The parts are common because they share components with trucks and other vans. You can fix these with a basic socket set and a manual. But we need to be honest about the limitations because they're significant. Most of these vans are two-wheel drive, specifically rear-wheel drive. Great on roads, great on highways, decent in rain, absolutely terrible in mud or snow or anything that requires traction on surfaces that aren't paved. If you're planning to disappear into the wilderness, this isn't your vehicle. This is for urban and suburban survival, for staying mobile in areas with actual roads and infrastructure. The fuel consumption is the other killer. These are big, heavy vehicles with V8 engines. 10 to 14 miles per gallon is normal. That's terrible. In a long-term collapse scenario where fuel becomes scarce, this is a death sentence unless you've planned ahead. You need fuel caches, you need siphoning skills, you need a strategy for fuel acquisition that doesn't depend on gas stations being open. And these are gasoline engines. You can't run them on alternative fuels. You can't pour vegetable oil in the tank. They need gasoline, period. When the gasoline runs out, the van stops. That's the hard limit on this vehicle's usefulness. It's a medium-term solution, not a long-term one.
Vehicle 3, the unkillable machine that eats waste and produces motion. Let me tell you about the vehicle that'll outlast civilization itself. The vehicle that'll still be running when everything else is rust and memories. The 1980s Mercedes-Benz diesel. Specifically, the W123 chassis with the OM617 engine, or the W124 chassis with the OM603. I know what you're thinking. A Mercedes? For survival? That's the most pretentious, impractical idea you've ever heard. Let me change your mind. These vehicles pass the EMP test perfectly. Not mostly, not with modifications, perfectly. The OM617 engine is completely mechanical. There is no computer controlling the engine, none. The fuel system is controlled by a mechanical injection pump. The timing is controlled by springs and weights. The throttle is a literal cable connected to a lever. An electromagnetic pulse could detonate directly over this car and the engine wouldn't even notice. The radio might die, the clock would stop, the windshield wipers might fail if they're electric. The engine, it just keeps running. Because physics doesn't care about electromagnetic radiation. But here's where it gets truly interesting. The fuel flexibility test. This is where the Mercedes diesel becomes genuinely special. That OM617 engine will run on almost anything combustible and oily. Let me be specific about what anything means. Regular diesel, obviously. Old diesel that's been sitting in a barrel for 2 years. Still works. The engine doesn't care that the fuel is degraded. Kerosene? Absolutely. Same combustion properties as diesel. Home heating oil? It's basically diesel with red dye. The engine can't see the dye. Waste vegetable oil. This is the big one. After you filter out the solid particles, vegetable oil has almost the same energy density as diesel. You can literally fuel this car from restaurant dumpsters. The science here is simple. Diesel combustion doesn't require a spark. It requires heat. You compress air until the temperature exceeds the auto-ignition temperature of your fuel. For most oils, that's between 300 and 400 degrees Celsius. The OM617 engine compresses air to about 500 degrees Celsius. That's plenty of margin. As long as your fuel can flow through the injectors and ignite under high temperature, the engine runs. End of story. This means in a long-term collapse, this is the only vehicle that can survive fuel scarcity. Gas stations close? Doesn't matter. Refineries shut down? Doesn't matter. You're fueling from waste oil, from agricultural runoff, from anything that burns. This is the only vehicle on this list with genuine long-term sustainability. The durability is the other factor. Mercedes over-engineered these cars to an almost absurd degree. The OM617 engine was designed to run for millions of miles. Not hundreds of thousands, millions. The block is cast iron. The head is aluminum. Everything is overbuilt. There are W123 Mercedes with over 1 million miles still driving around as taxis in Africa and the Middle East, still running, still working, because they were designed by German engineers who are apparently preparing for exactly this scenario. The chassis doesn't rust like American cars from the same era. Mercedes use better steel and better rust protection. The suspension is simple, the steering is manual. Everything about this car is designed to be repaired and maintained indefinitely. This is a multi-generational vehicle. You could pass this down to your children, and they could pass it to theirs. Now let's talk about the problems because I'm not selling you a fantasy. This car is slow, painfully slow. The OM617 makes about 90 horsepower on a good day. 0 to 60 miles per hour takes about 15 seconds. That's not a typo. 15 seconds. You're not outrunning anyone. Not raiders, not zombies, not an angry turtle with a vendetta. This is pure transportation. You will arrive at your destination. Eventually, in the far future, after everyone else has gotten there and had lunch. The off-road capability is non-existent. This is a rear-wheel drive sedan with street tires and normal ride height. You're limited to paved roads, gravel roads if they're maintained, light dirt roads if you're brave, deep mud, forget it. Heavy snow, not happening. This is a vehicle for survivors who understand that staying mobile on existing infrastructure is more important than fantasizing about living in the mountains. Parts availability is the other concern. While these cars are reliable, when something does break, you're not finding parts at every American junkyard. These cars weren't sold in huge numbers in the US. You'll need to pre-cache critical parts: fuel filters, glow plugs, injection pump components, belts, hoses, because when you need them, there's no Amazon delivery coming to save you. You need a part stash and the knowledge to use it.
The philosophy test. Which weakness kills you last? Here's what nobody tells you about survival. There are no perfect solutions. There are only calculated compromises. Every vehicle on this list has fatal weaknesses. The question isn't which vehicle has no weaknesses. The question is which vehicle's weaknesses kill you last. The Cherokee drinks fuel. In a world where every gallon matters, that's a countdown timer on your survival. But it's mechanical, it's fixable, it's capable. The weakness is resource consumption, not reliability. The cargo van is invisible and spacious and functional, but it's stuck to roads. It needs gasoline. The weakness is mobility and fuel type. You're betting that staying hidden and staying on infrastructure matters more than off-road capability. The Mercedes diesel can eat garbage and run forever, but it's slow. It's limited to roads. It requires pre-cached parts knowledge. The weakness is speed and terrain limitation. You're betting that fuel independence and longevity matter more than tactical speed. Which bet do you make? That's not a rhetorical question. That's the actual decision you need to make right now. Because when the grid goes down, you don't get a practice run. You don't get to experiment. You get whatever vehicle you prepared with, whatever weaknesses you accepted, and whatever consequences those weaknesses bring. The common thread here is analog, simple, mechanical. Every vehicle on this list can be understood by looking at it, can be fixed with basic tools, doesn't require a computer to decide whether you're allowed to move forward. That's the filter. That's the survival principle. Complexity kills. Simplicity survives. Your modern truck with its touchscreen and lane keeping assist and 47 computer modules, it's already dead. It died the second the grid went down. You just haven't accepted it yet because acceptance means admitting you bought an $80,000 mistake. These three vehicles, they're laughing. They're rolling past your disabled dream machine while you're standing there with a dead key fob trying to figure out which of 17 error codes means you're walking.
The challenge: prove me wrong or prove me right. So here's where you come in. Drop a comment. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me about your 12-valve Cummins that's mechanical and unkillable. Tell me about your old Toyota pickup that has 1 million miles and still runs. Tell me about your Volvo 240 that's apparently immortal. Tell me about whatever vehicle you think should be on this list. But here's the rule. You have to tell me which of my 4 tests it passes: EMP survival, common tool repair, fuel flexibility, invisibility. Show me the vehicle, show me how it passes, show me where my analysis is wrong. Because this isn't about being right for the sake of ego. This is about finding the truth before the truth finds us. It's about understanding that survival isn't won by the toughest or the strongest or the coolest. It's won by the one who's still moving when everyone else stopped. It's won by the analog tool in a digital graveyard. It's won by the vehicle that doesn't need permission from a computer to turn a crankshaft and create motion. The grid is fragile, the supply chain is fragile, the systems we depend on are held together with assumptions and hope. When those assumptions break, complexity becomes the enemy, simplicity becomes salvation. Choose your vehicle like your life depends on it, because it does. And when that choice matters, you don't get a second chance. You get forward motion or you get consequences. The clock is ticking. Make the choice.